yeah, starting with the big news, which made me real happy this week. So basically, on 1st June, news came out that Toby Emmerich was getting replaced, which kind of was expected, but it wasn't sure because of Zaslav's connection to him. He is friends with Toby, and he still praised Toby in these news, but Toby kind of stepped down, which is basically he was asked to move, and he was replaced by Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdy. These two are from MGM, and they were ex New Line execs at one point. And also, an interesting fun fact. Toby Emmerich actually replaced Michael DeLuca in from New Line, in 2001, and now basically he got his payback. DeLuca replaced Toby Emmerich, and he's gone now. But look, apart from all the DC stuff, I still was the champion of getting Toby removed. And I will always believe that he was a detriment to the company. He literally ruined WB's image when he was there. He made a lot of poor choices. WB was completely different, back before Sujihara. Like, it was regarded as the best one, and all the best films came out of WB, and all the best talents were at WB. You know, Ironically, Alan Horn, before he got Disney to the success that it is now, he was at WB doing the same thing, and he was the one that brought WB to that success. Like, he worked with Zack Snyder as well back then, and Nolan and all that. So yeah, look, WB in these past few years isn't on the level it used to be. And I feel like David Zaslav came in, and just within the first month itself, he made so many changes that he basically said, "What the fuck are you doing here? You have Warner Brothers and all this IP, and why are you not making use of it, right?" And we always complained about them not using their biggest IP, which is DC. And the first day he comes in, he tells that DC is their biggest IP, and they'll be focusing more on DC, and they will be focusing more on Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, all that stuff, right? So it was very hopeful. But obviously, us, we are WB DC fans, and we are so gone down the road right now that we believe things only when we see it happening, right? So obviously, I was very cautious back then, but seeing everything from him, every decision made, I feel more and more hopeful that he is basically the one that would bring WB back to his glory. So all the CW shit going down, but Riverdale's still there. I don't know why, but Gotham Knights is also there. But yeah, Superman and Lois, I would now consider HBO Max thing, right? Or would that still be under that CW axe?
I don't know, but it's doing well enough online and viewership and stuff. And Zaslav seems to have a hard on for Superman, so maybe he likes the show.
Imagine if he's the Tyler Hoechlin is my Superman guy. That would be really funny.
I wouldn't be imagining that.
Yeah, but basically the news is that he replaced Toby Emmerich, and okay, so to explain it in such a way, I would compare this to Disney, right? So Warner Brothers basically right now, Warner Brothers Discovery basically right now is divided into 3 main divisions, right? The first one is WB New Line, which it's Warner Brothers Pictures and New Line Pictures both under one single division, and that will be run by these 2 people. And then you have a DC division separately from that, which is like the greatest news for us fans. We have been asking for the same thing since like forever, and it finally happened. And now DC division will not be under the WB movie execs anymore. Even if Toby was still the head there, it wouldn't have mattered because DC is now separate. So that's a really good thing. but he's gone. Now we have these two guys. They'll handle WB, and DC will be handled by its own head, which has not been appointed yet. I feel like that's a really good thing. Whoever they appoint, that's a good thing. But I hope they get a good person who has good business knowledge as well as good DC knowledge. If they don't have good DC knowledge, they can always get an advisor like Jim Lee or anyone like that. That would be great to have on team. But yes, this is basically the best news for me. Toby getting fired, DC getting separate division. Like it's awesome, and I cannot help but think that DC's best days are ahead. And especially after 2017, Wonder Woman would be the last one I would consider the proper OG DCU, when it was at its peak. Then Justice League happened, then all the others, it just, it was heights and troughs. So we need consistency. But yeah, I feel like they can get back to that. The other thing with that is that, you have the other division you have is animation, right? So animation is the third division and the final division. They again don't have a you know they don't have a head for that, and they will probably get one, just like Pixar has and Disney Animation has. So they are basically structuring this like Disney, which I feel like is the smart move, because Disney basically has Marvel Studios separate, and they have the Disney division separate, and they have Pixar division separate, right? So that's working for them, and it's a proven basically proven structure for years. So why not just learn from that and build a structure that seems financially viable for your own company? And I feel like David Zaslav also is doing a smart move here by bringing in Alan Horn as an advisor, and even consulting with Bob Iger. They have brought success to Disney as well, and of course they would have some great tips. Like everyone, even if you ask Kevin Feige, what are the top 5 things you would give and advise for DC, and he would definitely have notes to give, right? So it's good that he was listening, he's open to it, and I'm glad that things are working out this way. So before we move on to other stuff in this article, what do you guys think of this news? Yeah.
DC and Warner Bros. Yeah, so they do seem to be kind of turning a corner, and DC's kind of in a bit of a limbo at the moment, where they've got, um, you know, they do have several solo projects kind of happening every now and again. They've got, um, what do they have? I mean, they have like the James Gunn stuff, the Suicide Squad, but they've got like occasionally other things like, would be a good example, like the Blue Beetle film coming out. So they're not like in this huge world building phase at the moment, like they were with Snyder in charge.
Yeah.
And so they are kind of, now is probably kind of like the best time for all of this stuff to be happening, and then they can get in these new individuals and say, okay, now it's time to try and build something. I don't know what they'll do. I I think the easiest thing to do would be to say, okay, let's bring in, let's make a new Superman movie with Henry Cavill,
which we will get to in a bit.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, like, one of the things that I haven't really heard in a while is Henry announcing that he's in any new projects. Like, I used to kind of hear that maybe like a year ago, I would hear and see like, oh, Henry Cavill's going to be in this movie, it's going to be in this TV show, and it's kind of gone quiet. Obviously, it's probably because he's filming those things, but it's kind of, you know, you get a little bit hopeful that maybe you'll see it. But it just seems to be the obvious place to start, right? Really is a good way to kind of gauge how people are responding to the DC universe, because we've had a lot more experimental projects with things like Peacemaker, which were extremely well received. It's now just a case of saying, okay, well, in terms of these big money makers like the Justice League or the Trinity, you know, things are kind of in a weird place. If there was no pandemic and Wonder Woman 84 had been released in the theaters normally, I think they'd be in a much better way of understanding where they are financially.
True.
Because that, you know, the movie was like, it was like okay on release, and then everyone just hates it now. But financially, there's really nothing to go off. And as we've seen, like, well, we were all desperately scraping for like third-party metrics from like Sampa TV to try and work out how successful any DC projects were, and it was all just a big shit show. Like HBO, at no point did HBO Max go, yeah, like, look, all these people watch the show. So there's real kind of no way of knowing how well things are going, for us at least at the moment. So I think it's just a case of, yeah, maybe over the next like month or so, see who else goes, see who else comes back. And I would be very surprised if there weren't any like big announcements soon, like, you know, something like a Henry Cavill Superman movie, which I know we'll talk about.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you want to tell people. You want to say there's a new Superman movie with this person attached to direct. You know, think about the Christopher McQuarrie Superman movie that we nearly had. Like, goddamn, you had that in the palm of your hand. And so the one thing, long story short, I'd say the one thing that I'm hoping for the most is that, yeah, people like Zaslav or whatever his name is are coming in and saying like, holy shit, you guys did such a bad job managing some of the biggest names in Hollywood. Like, this is 101. You have Superman, make a Superman movie. You have Batman, you know, look at how well Matt Reeves' Batman movie did. Like, use these characters. But hey, at the same time, I'm still really excited because I see things like the BTS pictures of Blue Beetle, and I'm like, holy shit, that looks awesome. But
I feel like Zaslav already said those words without saying those words. He basically is looking for another DC head while Hamada is still there. So he's basically saying, you're shit at your job, I'm replacing you. So yeah.
Just telling him his days are numbered, basically.
Yep.
Look, I is my camera fixed? Basically, because I dropped out and I kind of froze.
Yeah.
Okay. I think these are the changes we've all wanted on my own. I talked about it on my own channel. I talked about it on Movie Buffs with Lewis. I've talked about it here, online. We need change with these guys, and we will know if the real problem was the creators or the suits when the next few years happens, because we have new people in now, and hopefully there's more freedom towards these directors and writers and stuff like that. But I don't know what DC is going to look like in a few years in terms of the DC universe, but it's a good sign that Zaslav is very into the Trinity, which should be the Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor of the DC universe that Marvel has been building up. You know, and they should be. So yeah, but look, it's exciting, all the changes and stuff. We'll see what happens. Maybe we could get the air cut. Maybe we could get Zack Snyder's Justice League too. But there's other very interesting projects there as well. The Batman Reeves world. Todd Phillips seems to be very much in discussion with David Zaslav, which we'll talk about, which I find very fascinating and very exciting. And and Lewis talked about it as well. There's different kind of DCEU universes. You got the CW, Superman Lois. You got Doom Patrol. You've got Gotham Knights, which we're all excited for. Got the theatrical stuff. There's so much going on. There's something for everybody. That's what I love about DC, because there's some R-rated stuff.
Let's not make Gotham Knights into another Morbius.
I think it's doing that by its own volition.
Please,
I
God.
don't think anybody else is having to do anything to make people not watch Gotham Knights.
Dude, I can't take another situation like that again, man. I just can't.
That was the most
I'm
confusing thing
loving it.
because, like, I had no idea that this TV show was even a thing, and then I just saw a trailer for it, and I felt like I was in some kind of fever dream. I was like, there's a game coming out called Gotham Knights, and this is like completely irrelevant. Like, somebody just fucking killed Bruce Wayne in the streets. Like, what?
That show
Like,
is so getting cancelled. The only reason it
Don't say
wasn't
that,
announced because it's already made and they have to release it. So that's the only thing I think.
It's getting
Yeah.
it's getting a season 1 and it's not getting renewed
Yep.
for sure. But
Watch
hey,
it
who
be
knows?
like
We've got to be
Simon-
open-minded. It might be
Look,
amazing.
look,
You never know.
Look, those comic book shows from like the early 2000s that doesn't even get a full season. It gets like 6 episodes and boom, it's canceled.
It's just like
I
release
was-
them.
I was there. I was
20
there
minutes.
I was there in the early 2000s for the Birds of Prey show, and that's what happened to it. I would not imagine if that happened to to this piece of crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seems like a very strange project that nobody really asked for. But I think with all the new recent announcements, like a load of CW shows have been cancelled recently. Am I right in thinking that?
Yep.
So I think it might just be we've already paid for this. Might as well release it because people might love it. I doubt I'll watch it. I'm not really into any of the CW stuff, but I don't know. Just the trailer,
How do you
not really
look
kind of
worse
super
than what's
interested in.
already out there? Like how do you go worse than Flash is right now? I mean, at one point Flash was awesome, but right now it's not. It's like unwatchable. But how do you go worse from that? That's my question.
They should have kept Legends of Tomorrow because
Yeah.
No, but like what I was trying to say, like it's very exciting going into this next phase of DC. Of course, we'd all love the Snyderverse restored, but that might not be the case. We could see Zack Snyder working in the DC Black Label doing a movie there. We could see Zack Snyder never do a DC movie again. You just don't know what's going to happen. I'd actually put a bet on Zack Snyder doing a Marvel movie before he does a DC movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
So look, I hope. Like I don't know these suits, these people. They're all rich people. I'm not going to wish them the best luck. It's their job. They should be doing all these studios and stuff like that. I just want to watch good movies. So
He just saw The Boys and he was like, "I'm Billy Butcher.
yeah,
Do your job."
I don't give a fuck. Yeah, dude. No, so yeah. Look, okay, cool. New people, new suits. But is it just a different face in the same suit? We'll see.
Yeah,
We will see.
it's a very dangerous game, and I think it's kind of like a similar lesson to learn from the Amber Heard trial. It's just to and Johnny Depp trial. It's just to not worship the ground that celebrities walk on, because chances are they're just fucking idiots
Yeah.
with money. That's it. That's the only difference between you and them, is that they just have a lot of money. And chances are they're going to do things that will infuriate you. It's just the hydra of executives. You're just replacing them with the same. We could be optimistic.
Yeah.
Who knows? Might be that these shows are fantastic, and like I, for one, remember when the Peacemaker show was kind of announced, I was like, huh? And then I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be optimistic about the future, guys.
Yeah. Work on. What do you think of our beloved Toby Emmerich stepping down?
Yeah, I wish I was close to my fridge right now because I would have gotten some drinks and partied from hearing that news again. But yeah, I mean, look, this has been a long time coming, considering the fact that he did kind of fuck WB like right into the dirt when he got a bigger type of role, because of the fact that, WB, like you said, it was known as the director studio. Like, it was a place where a lot of directors could come in and make their projects and not get interfered. You know what I mean? It's not like, I would not think that like Dark Knight or Watchmen or The Town could have been made under this current regime from WB.
Absolutely not.
It would, they would just would not let it.
Unless you have a lot of sand in your movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Toby Emmerich was like a big producer on like that. That was one of his babies, and they won Oscars, to be fair to him. So he kind of goes out on a good note.
But
to be fair to Dune, though, that's already an established IP, and it's also Denis Villeneuve. But again, credit where it's due. He did greenlight it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, but even so, like there was still conflicts with them with that regarding that. Like, Denny didn't want it to be on HBO Max, and they didn't care. They're kind of like they're kind of like we're putting in HBO Max regardless. So you still had conflicts like that. But yeah, but even kind of going back when Emmerich took over New Line, and I'd read stories about this recently that he had really screwed up a lot of New Line's movies, like. When Michael DeLuca has always been known as a very director-friendly studio exec. He greenlit Magnolia, he greenlit Seven, he greenlit like
Lord of the Rings.
Austin Powers.
He was on the
Lord of the Rings, yeah. Like those are all very director-friendly type of projects, and he was very adamant in getting Frey versus Jason made because he was like, we're New Line. We've got the two biggest horror icons in the planet in our studio. Let's actually do a Frey versus Jason movie. Let's actually take advantage of that. And so they did. And, he wanted to market it like it was a big event. Like he wanted it to be like a kind of a monumental type of thing to it. And when he got canned from New Line, he got replaced by Toby Emmerich. Emmerich insisted on, first off, not having it come out in the summer. He wanted it to be out in the fall, which you're like, okay, it's a horror film, whatever. But he cut back on a lot of the marketing budget. He just wanted to be just right out there with little fanfare because, according to him, he doesn't like horror movies.
What does he like?
I don't know.
Justice League?
Maybe.
Yeah, that's a horror movie.
Oh, yeah. That movie still gives me nightmares. So credit it works. But yeah, so he did that. He gave that also treatment with Jason X, which Jason X is not a masterpiece of a movie. It is a crappy, goofy, Jason Voorhees movie. But the movie was originally supposed to come out in 2001. And he wanted to push it back to 2002 because he just wanted it just to get out there with little fanfare, just have it be done with it. So he just does not. I don't really think he takes a lot of projects that seriously. He just looks at it just as just kind of like whether or not it has commercial appeal, and he judges on that merit alone. And if there's something that he personally doesn't like, he will just sweep it under the rug, and that is a shit way to make movies, especially when it's IPs like Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees, and now with Justice League with DC characters and so forth. So the fact that they ditch him finally and they got Michael DeLuca, who, like I said, he's a very director-friendly guy as he was on New Line. He was very director-friendly during his time at MGM. Like he insisted that No Time to Die be delayed and not get a streaming release because he's like, this should be made for a movie theater. And you watch No Time to Die in the movie theater, it is made for that, And
it made a lot of money.
Absolutely, it was one of the highest grossing movies of last year, which that says a lot, being very post-pandemic.
Yeah, and also I think they worked recently on Licorice Pizza. I don't think that was financially that great, but a lot of people loved that movie, and it was, it had Oscar buzz to it.
It's a fantastic movie, and he worked with Paul Thomas Anderson again because he greenlit Boogie Nights and Magnolia, and he greenlit Licorice Pizza. But yeah, the point is Michael DeLuca has always had like the backs of directors. So I'm glad that a guy like him is coming on board. I'm being cautiously optimistic because the truth is, who knows what could happen. We could get an Ayer cut or a Snyder cut or Snyder cut, Snyderverse restoration, things like that. Who knows? But I just want a better kind of like studio number everyone. I want Nolan to come back to Warner Brothers and make and repair that divorce. You know what I mean? I want like Ben Affleck to go back and work with them again. I want Clint Eastwood, all of them to come back again and work with them at Warner Brothers. But that's a bridge that has to be rebuilt and so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. And look, another thing that was in this article was, it was mentioned that Zaslav and Todd Phillips had discussions about DC, and he consulted with him as well. Um, and that's another great thing, because one of the things I was wondering was that, why don't you have wait, what just happened?
With a duck quacking noise that I just heard.
Vecna's here.
We are in the upside down. Okay, now we are back. Sorry about that. I don't know why that happened, but yeah. Another news from this was that they had discussions with Todd Phillips, and he is getting advice from him. So I was wondering, when Joker came out, why don't you have more Black Label movies? Because that's such a great idea. That's one thing again that sets DC apart from Marvel. That you have this separate label where you can make non-shared cinematic universe movies. That's such a great idea to have, and such a great financial success you had with Joker as well. So this was a no-brainer to me, right? Like, they should have gotten right next day. They should have gotten the meeting room and discussed the future projects. Like, the next 3 projects should have been announced from the Black Label, but nothing happened. Like, Joker 2 is still in development, and even that is not coming. So it's been terrible from them all around, and I just feel like everything that came out from the Zaslav era is great news after great news. So even this is a great news for me. I feel like getting the Black Label running again would be a great idea. I would not want Todd Phillips to be the DC division head, because he's a filmmaker. He should make films. So him being a producer for all the Black Label films, though, that I would be okay with, because he has great ideas. He knows how to get these projects made and stuff like that. So discussing these stuff with him, I would be completely okay with. And he's a filmmaker first, so obviously the film has to be good. You can't just bring in Mr. Freeze and make a crap movie out of it. You have to make a great movie. So I would love for him to be around, and I'm glad to hear that he was mentioned here. Even though it's not like Superman or Batman related, he was still, mentioned as an important part for Zaslav, and I like that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, like this role is more important because Kevin Feige, Pedro Pascal, or not Pedro Pascal, Amy Pascal, that would be interesting. Kathleen Kennedy, they're so important, but it doesn't work for them all the time. Kevin Feige is probably the one with the best, most win rate. To find somebody who is a Kevin Feige is nearly impossible. Amy Pascal, Kathleen Kennedy have wins, but a lot of losses too. So this is an important role. And Todd Phillips, I don't want him in that role. It shouldn't be a director. It should be somebody like Kathleen Kennedy, like Amy Pascal, like Kevin Feige, who can work with the talent, like Dave Filoni, like Jon Favreau, and work it that way. So that is such an important role. I don't know who it's going to be, who it should be, but this is probably the most important one for the future of DC. But Todd Phillips is an advisory addition, advising on the DC movies. He has a great box office record with General. And he's a great director, and that's important. He can tell a great director can tell any story. So Joker was a hit. I think his idea of Black Label, Bane, maybe characters like that, Scarecrow, could be very interesting, very unique, and I hope they go that direction. But will they? I don't know. But him as a big producer, I think would be a great addition. Let him do it. He created magic with Joaquin Phoenix, and maybe he can bring some other director in to create magic with another artist and give us something very unique and different. So I love the idea. I think this gives me more hope of getting something. I love Zack Snyder's world and the darker, grittier version of it all. But this gives me more hope that we get more stuff like that if Todd Phillips is involved instead of somebody like, I don't know, some other director,
Imagine if he gets Scorsese to do one, because he almost got that for Joker. So imagine if he actually straight up directs like a, banker or something from Gotham, and the movie is just focused on him or something like that. It would be cool. Or maybe just a Falcone movie, just not from the Batman.
Oh, a Departed Falcone movie. Oh,
yeah,
Scorsese, that would be just insane.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't given him the keys to making a Penguin film. I feel like that just is more of his sensibilities.
Right?
Yeah.
It would be awesome. But yeah, what do you think, Rokan?
I mean, I agree. Todd Phillips. I mean, look, I love Todd Phillips's work on Joker and Hangover and Old School, and I honestly think Starsky and Hutch and Road Trip's underrated, hilarious movies. So yeah, I mean, look, I think the idea of him being, working in an advisory capacity is great because, he, things with Todd Phillips is that he's a very director-driven type of dude, and like you watch his movies and you can tell it's a Todd Phillips type of film with the way cinematography is and type of humor and so forth. So I like the idea of him kind of like sitting on as an advisory board. I do agree he shouldn't be the one to run a division. It should be somebody with that mindset that Phillips or Mike DeLuca or Kevin Feige have. But it shouldn't be like he shouldn't be a filmmaker to do it because I agree. Todd Phillips makes movies, and I think Todd Phillips is already booked to do the Hulk Hogan biopic right now. So he's still kind of like, busy with that and, possibly Joker 2 and stuff like that. So, but I do like the idea of him coming on board and kind of just giving his own notes on certain things. I mean, WB, at this point, WB look at him as kind of like his last kind of golden boy because he's made practically all of his films at WB, I think, aside from Old School.
And even War Dogs. War Dogs was good.
Oh yeah, War Dogs was pretty good.
Yeah, that was kind of like the start of him going into slightly more serious direction with War Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fine with him, just advising things as long as he doesn't run division and just says, okay, let's make Toy Man. Let's make Toy Man into like Raging Bull. You know what I mean? Or let's make fucking Lex Luthor into Casino or something like that. Like if it gets into that point, then I'm like, reel the reins back up just a little bit. But like I said, I'm completely up for him coming on board.
Yeah, Lewis.
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree with everything you guys are saying. Like, get Phillips on in an advisory basis, just to say like, what was it about Joker that just clicked and worked you? I think you've got to be careful that you don't just, we say, okay, we have one exacting work with Joker. Now let's just rinse and repeat for everything. A bit dangerous. So yeah, I definitely agree with what you guys are saying about getting somebody who's maybe more of a managerial capacity to take over for sure. But like, yeah, get a creative someone. Get someone who knows DC. Don't get a suit to do it.
Like Greg Silverman.
I think Kevin Feige is like the kind of the perfect hybrid of suit and knows Marvel. Going too far in either direction is gonna probably be a bad idea. But like, yeah, you just need a. Like, I think it's clear that they're gonna try and do two things. They're gonna try and push DC Black, hopefully. And then they're going to try and do a universe on the other side. But, like, it's deciding what kind of universe you want that to be. Because if you wanted to try and be something like an MCU, you need a Feige type. If you want it to be like, oh, okay, well, it's a universe that's kind of connected. You kind of, like, references to other characters, but we're not going to go as all out as Marvel are doing. Then the person you're looking for is probably a lot different. You just want someone who can kind of ensure, like, consistency across the line. Not necessarily somebody who's going from director to director and saying, we want to put this character in the movie, we want to do this, we want to make sure there's a connection here, who's as hands-on as I assume Feige to be. But they all know this. But judging from the last few years, you kind of need people who are sat in a call at 1 a.m. in the UK to give pointers on what they should be doing. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in this situation in the first place.
Yeah. The main thing is they all should have a writer's room and stuff like that because, even with Marvel, even if Feige is not on every single set, ordering what to do, they all have, the writers themselves have, from different movies, they get together in a room and there is a consistency head. I don't know what the exact role name is, but there's one person or a team of first people who look at different projects and make sure they're not contradicting each other. That may have not been the case recently as much in Phase 4, but until Phase 3, they had that team, and like James Gunn would sit with Russo brothers and they would discuss what your movie has or what my movie should have and all that. DC never had that until 2016 they had that, but after that they never had that. So every movie could be just getting in a Joker double, or putting Christopher Reeve Superman theme over Henry Cavill's body and shit like that. So hopefully that doesn't happen again.
In sync. They need to be in sync.
Yes.
That's what they need to do.